about to give you the most boring answer possible. Yes and no.
Okay, give me like 5 minutes to explain, alright? Coincidentally, probably the length of this video.
First, we need to start off with the definition of self-improvement that we're going to be using in this video. Self-improvement is the lifelong journey that one undergoes to replace bad habits with good habits, maintain acceptable mental health, and become the best possible version of themselves. Once they have food, water, safety, and just essentially everything that you possibly could need. But essentially, this is the bulk of why self-improvement is stupid. We as humans have advanced so much that we've taken ourselves out of our natural environment and are now struggling just to be our natural selves. The fact that we struggle to instill the good habits of self-improvement in our lives is evidence that we struggle to be our natural selves. What I mean by that is that our improved selves are our natural selves. Let's try to think of some common self-improvement habits that a lot of people start off with, right? Waking up on time, exercising, working, eating properly. All of these self-improvement habits are things that we're naturally inclined to do, and yet things that we're struggling to do. As it turns out, your natural human state of being is the improved self that you're trying to be. I'm going to prove that with my own personal experience. It is subjective, but I don't have a PhD in psychology, so this is kind of all that I have to use. I went on a backpacking trip recently. Now, this backpacking trip was the most physically uncomfortable I'd ever been in pretty much my entire life. It was cold, rainy, I hardly got any sleep because temperatures at night would dip so low that I couldn't get to sleep. I was living off of almost less than 1,000 calories worth of chicken and rice for 3 days. I was starving, and overall, I was just sad, cold, and wanted to go home. However, despite these circumstances, there was not a single time on that camping trip where I woke up and thought to myself, man, I'm so lazy and unproductive. I should have a morning routine, like that self-improvement YouTuber told me. While on this backpacking trip, I was essentially in the natural environment of my ancestors. I didn't need some self-improvement YouTube videos to motivate me to get out of bed in the morning. It was more like, I need to get out of bed now because it's freezing cold, and I need to start a fire because that's gonna take about an hour since it rained the previous day. I also need to eat breakfast as soon as possible because I'm starving, and I need energy to get me through the 7-mile hike that I'm going on today. And just overall, there was no ability to be lazy. There was no need for self-improvement because I was naturally being inclined to do all of the things that self-improvement would have me do. Alright, so in conclusion, self-improvement is stupid because we've taken ourselves out of our natural environment and put ourselves in an unnatural environment. We've done this to ourselves. And to further elaborate on the definition of self-improvement, self-improvement is the attempt to maintain our natural habits in an unnatural environment. Which brings us to why self-improvement is not stupid. Self-improvement is not stupid. It's necessary once you've achieved the Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever. Seriously, thank you, Shane. That was like the best class I've ever had. Now, unless you're willing to give up all of your friends and family to go live in a jungle and probably die due to your lack of knowledge of survival, returning back to our natural environment is kind of unrealistic. Now, by all means, if you're genuinely equipped to do so, do it like this guy. But for the majority of us, the best way that we can get through this unnatural environment that we're living in is by way of self-improvement. See, what our current environment has done is it's taken our natural environment and it has essentially synthesized it. Finding a discounted cheesecake at Walmart, I take it, is a really good replication of what it must have been like to find an apple hanging from a tree back in the day. See, those on self-improvement are a lot more likely to see the attempted hijack on our reward system that discounted cheesecake is trying to do. Subsequently, those on self-improvement are a lot more likely to have a healthy diet and therefore not suffer the physical and mental health challenges that come along with a really bad diet. And because of that, they're a lot more likely to survive and live long enough to have a family. Furthermore, people on self-improvement are a lot less likely to fall into the trap of phony online reproduction novels. And essentially these phony online reproduction novels are yet another unnatural attempt to hijack the reward system. See, people who are attuned to self-improvement are a lot more likely to observe these things objectively and see that these phony online reproduction novels do not actually, make children. And because of that logical, objective view and the years of practice of the ability to disconnect your thoughts and actions from your emotional state, people on self-improvement aren't going to fall into this trap and are a lot more likely to have real relationships and families someday. So, in conclusion, self-improvement is stupid because it is the attempt to return back to what we took from ourselves. However, at the same time, it is entirely essential and not stupid at all because it is the most effective way of looking at our current unnatural environment objectively, not falling for simulated nature that we have all around us in our environment and actually living the way we're supposed to live, despite the circumstances. Overall, while we don't have control over our situation, we do have control over how we respond to it. And in my view, self-improvement is the best response to this. Once you have food, water, and safety and all that, essentially it's the best way you can live when you're well off in a first world country. Alright everybody, so if you liked this week's video, make sure to subscribe so you can stay tuned for next week's video, where I go to Walmart and underpay the cashiers for my groceries, but tell them to keep the change anyway.